Yeah.
It's here. The fighting game that every single member of the FGC at large has been waiting years for. And now that it's out, all I have to say is finally. It's finally here. I can finally make a full video on it. And now that Street Fighter 6 is here, fighting games are finally up to modern standards. I haven't really discussed this on my channel, save for maybe one video, as I like to have a peachy, pretty, pizza party level positivity to the videos, but fighting games have had glaring problems over the years. From the netcode to cross-platform play to even the act of matchmaking and lobby systems, nearly everything about fighting games online has been, no shit, 10, 15, even 20 years behind the norm. Until now. This video is not a game review on Street Fighter 6. There are so many countless influencers and gaming sites doing that already, and to be honest, I'm a complete fucking idiot screaming into a microphone, so why the fuck would you trust my opinions? Instead, this video is a celebration of fighting games finally putting a head on their shoulders. We're going to go through every single problem that fighting games have had for the last 2 decades and show how Street Fighter 6 finally solves all of them. So, let's hit the streets! So let's start off by one of the biggest problems that have plagued fighting games over the years. Even though fighting games are predominantly multiplayer, a problem they've had is a despairing lack of single-player content. Most games would have an okay arcade mode, combo trials, and maybe a shoddily made cinematic campaign with varying degrees of quality. Most of these modes can be completed in less than an hour, and was a major reason why no one really wanted to purchase a fighting game at full price. Street Fighter 6 tackled that problem with by far the biggest single-player campaign in all of fighting games. World Tour. A no-shit 20-hour full, replayable, fully fledged single-player mode where you create a character, learn from the world warriors we all know and love, and find the true meaning of strength. Whatever the hell that means. And yes, you heard me correctly. You get to make your own character. As Street Fighter 6 is made in the RE engine, the same engine they used for Monster Hunter Rise, this game, no shit, comes with a fully fledged character creator. Not only is this an incredible way to customize and personalize yourself, more on that later, but it is also a major thing that people know about this game due to some creative minds in the community. So I guess I have to create my character. Now, I could recreate myself or make the beautiful abominations that Twitter have been spewing out every single day, but you know, that just sounds too original. Instead, I chose to recreate one of the most iconic characters in video games, my spirit animal.
Boom! I'm back, dummy! Let's do this! Boink! Bonk! Alright! Oh yeah! Woo! Think fast, Chuckle Nuts! I'm gonna headbutt you! I'm gonna headbutt you! I'm gonna headbutt you! I'm not even winded. Woo-hoo-hoo! Yes! You're like a car crash in slow motion. It's like I'm watching you fly through a windshield.
Right, anyway, once you create your character, do some tutorials, meet your rival, Tumblr Sexy Man Bosch, and get destroyed by your coach Luke, you are let into the world to explore, fight literally everyone with 2 arms and legs, shop, loot, and finally, learn from the entire cast of characters, eventually learning their moveset over time, including their specials and supers. Remember when Street Fighter was all about traveling the world, seeing different people from different equally beautiful cultures, and fighting using their own unique fighting style? World Tour brings that tradition all the way from Street Fighter 1 and 2 back into the modern day. Each of the World Warriors is somewhere in the World Tour, either in Metro City, the main hub of the game set in the United States, Naishal, the sub-hub in the remote corners of Asia, or in small arenas in their own little countries. Cammy in Great Britain, Zangief in Russia, DJ in Jamaica, Blanca in Brazil, all waiting for you to travel to. This alone is already extremely cool, but the real fun of World Tour is the mixing and matching of all the moves and specials you've amassed to create wildly different movesets, each unique to their own. What if Ken had a command grab? What if Zangief could use Kimberly's bomb for set play? What if Dalsum had an invincible DP? Customization that leads to incredible replayability and gives way to another feature that I'll talk about later. Now, at this point, I could talk about the story and all that, but honestly, there's really not much to talk about. An evil organization rigging a tournament for money laundering that we don't get any info on. A rundown country with a resistance fighting said organization with just a dash of terrorism. And a mustache-twisting villain that shows up at the very end of the game to be evil. That's about it. If you were expecting a deep, complex narrative with all the bells and whistles of a modern show or movie, you're not gonna find it here. That's more along the lines of a NetherRealm game like Mortal Kombat. But honestly, I don't really think it matters. Because the true selling point with World Tour is the amazing arenas, fun characters to interact with, and fun as hell side quest with incredibly funny moments strewn about. Okay, so we're doing this. 2 to the power of 6 is 64. Times 3 is 192, times 643. Okay, Capcom. Wow. Really? You motherfuckers. You motherfuckers. That's so good. Not to mention the minigames, some of which may look a little familiar to Street Fighter veterans. Think Yakuza, but with less gay tension. Or more.
Coach, how is any of that gonna help him handle this?
Oh, they fucking what? They're just saying hi to each other.
Our only fight ended in a draw. Wish we could have had a rematch.
Oh, they fucking look at them sparks. They're just talking to each other.
Yeah. Remember when we decided to check out the city, kicking butt and eating pizza? I really enjoyed it.
Oh, they fucking. Oh, they fuck.
But as awesome as the single player is, a fighting game is nothing without sick-ass gameplay. Another problem that fighting games have had for a while, while not being a major problem and honestly could be seen as quite subjective, is the problem of modernizing the genre by taking things away and simplifying them for new players to the ire of veterans. Now, if you like simple fighting games, there's absolutely no problem with that. Long combos are hard, my fingers can't keep up. I want to fucking learn Skullgirl's Second Encore, but it's so goddamn hard. But many players have had their favorite fighting games completely lobotomized and simplified, leaving veterans to just play the older games with shitty features that they're getting more and more tired of. However, there is a way to have your cake and eat it too. A way to make fighting games easy to play for newer players, but having a huge skill ceiling to let veterans style out, express themselves, and even inspire outside people to pick up the genre to start the cycle all over again. So, does Street Fighter 6 do that? Yes. Yes, it does. Street Fighter 6 has had a complete overhaul in gameplay since Street Fighter 5. Not only in the new systems, but also with every single character. So let's first talk about the biggest goal fighting game devs have been banging their head against a brick wall to achieve. Simplifying their gameplay to welcome new players. And Capcom finally decided to put on their big boy pants, bite the bullet and make the biggest change that everybody else has been pussyfooting around. Making a second control type with less buttons, auto combos, and no motion inputs. In Street Fighter 6, there are now 2 different control types to play the game: Classic and Modern. Okay, actually there's more like 3 control types, but we'll get to that one later as well. Put a pin in that too. Classic control is, well, the control type that everyone has been familiar with if you're a fighting game veteran. Light, medium, and heavy buttons for both punch and kick, and needing to do motion inputs such as quarter circles and DP inputs to get the specials out. Everyone's familiar with it, nobody cares. Modern is the point of contention for many players, so let's talk about that. Instead of 6 normal buttons, there are 4. Light, medium, heavy, and special. The special button being used in lieu of motion inputs, instead taking ideas from their distant cousins in platform fighters such as Smash Bros. And Rivals of Aether, with having the special button being paired with 1 motion of the stick to get your specials out. On top of that, if you hold down the L1 button, you can get your auto combos, ranging from a simple 2-hit combo to combos that even use your level 1 super. Perfect for players who may get overloaded with so many moves and just can't do a fireball input yet. But like I talked about in the last video with Idle Showdown, in order for veterans to not feel screwed, there has to be a reason to use classic controls. So what is it? Well, the main disadvantage that Modern has is, simply put, not having all the moves. And this is actually fucking brilliant design-wise. For some new players, having 24 normal moves in the air and on the ground, plus however many special moves, plus grabs, plus whatever gimmicks the game has, and figuring out where to use a specific move and why can be very disorienting for new players. It's a phenomenon that coined the term the mental stack in the fighting game glossary, and cutting those many moves down for new players is amazing for them. But those moves are still just as important. For example, Ryu's crouching medium and heavy kicks, one of them being a major sweeping move that gives you a hard knockdown to set up for Oki, is completely missing from his modern arsenal. While Denjin Charge and Hashogeki, the new moves that he got for Street Fighter 6, have no modern shortcut to get them out. You have to use the motion inputs, which might be a problem for players who aren't used to using them yet. Now, for veteran players, this alone could be a massive turnoff, on top of the specials doing less flat damage than if done with classic motion inputs. But these are problems and turnoffs that only the veterans would have. Veterans that most likely aren't going to be using modern controls in the first place. But the brilliance of it is that the new players, the players that are made to use the modern inputs, just don't care enough about the lost buttons. They got their specials and they got their auto combos, and that's kind of all they need to go online and have some fun. If they ever do want to get better at the game, well, they can switch whenever it feels most comfortable to get a Dragon Punch out. It took me a while, there's no rush. So the new players are all set, but what about the veterans? What do they get in this new game? Well, remember all the super cool mechanics in previous games that made them all so fun? Capcom just said fuck it and put them all back into Street Fighter 6. Yeah, all of them. Introducing the Drive System. Underneath your health bar are 6 little green pips that give access to the drive moves. Starting off with the Drive Impact, taking notes from Street Fighter 4's Focus Attack, with armor, the ability to crumple, and letting you trade a Drive Impact with a Drive Impact. This is the scrub killer in Street Fighter 6 and can completely open you up to get absolutely destroyed. It can also be used in the corner, giving you a wall splat on block. And if your opponent is out of drive gauge and enters a state known as burnout, and you get a Drive Impact wall splat then, well, but with the offensive mechanic of the Drive Impact comes the defensive mechanic of the Drive Parry. It might not be the parry, but more plus frames and Zawarudoing on a perfect parry is still pretty dope and extremely useful. You can also use the parry to go into a drive rush, a hyper-competitive dash similar to the FADC from Street Fighter 4, and can completely open up a character's combo potential to ludicrous degrees, and can start immediate pressure and keep that pressure going. If you're blocking, you can use the drive reversal as a get-off-me tool similar to bursts in other anime fighters, and drive can be used to EX your specials for extra damage. Oh boy, that's a lot. But what the drive system is it lets the player do whatever the hell they want with complete freedom. No longer having to wait to have a meter build up to do their cool stuff like in Street Fighter V's V system, as the drive meter gets completely filled back to full each round, so you might as well use it. With the new control schemes giving new players the chance to learn the game at their own pace and giving tons of tools and freedom for veterans to go dummy on, Street Fighter 6 finally achieved what so many other fighting games failed to do for years, making the game fun and accessible for both new and old players alike. So now that we've got a character to play, now we gotta find other players to play against. And this is the point in the video where we get a little nerdy, because now we have to talk about the online. Online matchmaking in fighting games has been the biggest conversation for years now, but I already talked about that in a previous video. The netcode is great, but the lobbies have been a point of contention pretty recently as well. Look, as much as I love Guilty Gear Strive, the lobby system in that game is downright atrocious. And once I was done with the honeymoon period for that game, that was what I was left with, making it a game that I may return to in the future, but not soon. Capcom, much like a lot of things they've done, finally stepped up and showed us what a real online infrastructure should look like. Now, unlike gameplay and the single player, the online is more or less just a checklist that you fill out, but Street Fighter 6 pretty much fills up everything. Roll back netcode to make the online matches smooth as butter. Crossplay between PC, PS4, and PS5 so the community doesn't get separated. Having ranking systems for skill-based matchmaking, and having ranks separate for each character so you can learn a character at your own pace. And if you're not interested in the interactive lobbies, you can queue up in both Battle Hub lobbies and even in the Fighting Ground menu while playing other modes while you wait, like training mode. This is a long time coming, but you still might want to check out the new things they added to their Battle Hub lobbies, because they, alongside the rest of the game, solve another problem that fighting games have had too. Too little content to play outside matches. Outside of online battles and a lackluster arcade mode, there really wasn't much to do in previous fighting games. Sure, they may have had a story mode, but be honest, did you ever go back and replay that once you were done with it the first time? I didn't. Street Fighter 6, on the other hand, almost has the exact opposite problem, in that there's almost too much content in this game. I've already talked about World Tour, which will already set you back a good 20 hours, but there are also the classic arcade stories of old, and Training Mode, which has been completely overhauled and honestly is worth a video all its own. And there's also a ton of extra content in the game that are just there as a way to play the game differently. Remember during the section on different control schemes when I said there are actually 3 control types? Well, that third control type is really a separate mode. Dynamic Control simplifies the controls down even further past just 4 buttons, while an AI controls movement and normals. It's party mode really, as I don't expect people to go walking into CPT expecting to take $1 million home thanks to a CPU you give suggestions to. But Dynamic Controls isn't the only party-style mode in this game. There's also Extreme Battles, where instead of a full health bar, you're given little pips for your health that only go down when you're hard knocked down. No long 42-hit combos needed, a sweep will do just as much damage. But just to make things a little more interesting, Extreme Battle adds in stage hazards to ramp up the chaos and fun in each match. Taking the stage hazard-filled chaotic fun from Smash and just graphing it onto this game, which is a welcome choice. It is okay to steal ideas from other fighting games, especially if that fighting game is the biggest fighting game franchise of all time. It is an extremely fun distraction from the hardcore online matchmaking and could even make a pretty fun side bracket at tournaments. Garrett, get on that shit. I'll commentate the whole thing. It'd be such a fucking mess. It'd be awesome. Now, remember that other pin I put in when we talked about your custom character with their own moveset? Well, you can actually take that character online in avatar battles to fight whatever other eldritch abomination the community has spawned. No real reason to do it, no rankings or anything, just an extra mode you can play online because it sounds like a lot of fun. And speaking of things to play for fun, sorry, there's so many extra things in this game, I'm fucking forgetting them. There's even a little corner in every Battle Hub lobby where there's arcade machines to just play classic Capcom fighting games like Street Fighter 2 for fun, whenever you want. Now, your avatar is what you use to move around the lobby and play avatar battles. And the Battle Hub even has little alcoves of small, fun things to use your avatar for, such as a little photo booth to take funny pictures, as well as stores to purchase more clothing and accessories. Which is a whole other thing you can do in this game. Jesus Christ, when are they gonna stop? These shops use drive tickets and fighter coins that you can earn from challenges that rotate every day, week, and month, and are also rewards from the Battle Pass. I think that's everything. Holy shit! There are so many things to do in this game, including ways to monetize the game post-launch with new characters, costumes, colors, clothing. It's fantastic. Unfortunately, it also gives way to the only problem that I have with fighting games that Street Fighter 6 does not solve. And I know this may be a controversial opinion for some reason, but I'm gonna say it anyway. The multiplayer for Street Fighter 6, including the online Battle Hub, should have been free to play. Now, I know that some of the community is strongly against fighting games going free to play, as there's a lot of ways to fuck it up, but there are so many ways to make money on Street Fighter 6 post-launch that making the multiplayer locked behind a $60 price tag, it's just ridiculous. Granted, the game is already well worth $60, but with the Battle Pass, costumes, characters, and clothing for your avatar, it's almost perfectly set up for a free-to-play model. And it's happened before with Virtua Fighter 5. But honestly, it's not too much of a deal breaker, as, like I said, the game is already well worth the full price tag. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if later down the line, Capcom decides to repackage the game with the online being free. Fun fact, World Tour, Battle Hub, and Fighting Grounds are all separate files that the game downloads individually when you purchase the full package. So I wouldn't be too shocked if Capcom just split the multiplayer modes and sold them separately for free. Just food for thought, Capcom. Now that's really the only complaint I have with the game, because everything else is incredible. From the single player, to the gameplay, to the online, it's all expertly done. But all of the incredible feature-rich gameplay pales in comparison to the final strong point. Street Fighter 6 solved my biggest problem with fighting games, and that's the charm. Personally, I am so sick and tired of every game ever made trying everything they can to make their multiplayer some hyper-competitive, crypto-fueled esports wankfest. I want my game to be fun. If it's not fun, why bother? And I feel like Capcom has had that adage tattooed onto their fucking eyeballs while making this, because Street Fighter 6 just seems to be filled to the brim with love, care, compassion, character, and charm. Now that's not to say I don't want Street Fighter 6 to be competitive, quite the opposite. But now we finally have some character in a video game genre that's primarily carried by its characters. Now I know I've already talked about this in another previous video, but it bears repeating. Capcom is having fun making this game. So many little things have been added to the game that have no reason to be in it other than just being fun. From being able to change the faces of your character on the round start screen, to characters mocking other characters' iconic taunts and moves, to each individual World Warrior positively brimming with color and vibrancy, to even having completely unique taunts like Jamie dancing to his own theme song.
Listen!
That is something that has been sorely missing for so long, especially in Capcom fighting games. And that's a phrase that I can say for so many things in this game. We finally have a fighting game that feels like it was made in the modern day. We finally have a fighting game with modern standards. A single-player mode with tons of depth and replayability. Gameplay that lets players loose and allows them to do whatever the hell they want. Giving new players the room to learn the game at their own pace. An online lobby system that's actually fucking functional. Several features and extra modes that will keep you invested far beyond playing matches. All wrapped up with a beautiful style, brimming with color and charm, with a game development team and community that finally gets to have fun again. This is a modern fighting game. This is the measuring stick for all future titles. This is Street Fighter 6.
Street Fighter 6.